Okay, I think we're live. Let's just do the final setup. Make sure we're all good to go. Uh-oh. Okay. Okay, I think dope. Dope. I think we are there. So it's been a minute. So let me just get all this going. If you are here already, let me know if you're hearing me okay. If the audio is okay, let me know if you hear a fan in the back too. I got my aircon like cranking right now. It is super hot in this Thailand summer. Let me just pull out some stuff. All right. No, I don't need that. Here we go. I'm excited to be back. I am excited to be back. It's been a minute. It's been a minute. I did something I haven't done in a very long time. Actually, no, I scratched that. I did something I haven't done ever since I started my web design career 9 years ago. I went somewhere without my laptop for the very first time. I have literally hiked the Himalayan mountains, gone up the Annapurna Trail in Nepal, and worked on the client's project while I was doing that up in the mountains, up in the Himalayas. Like, that's how crazy I have been. And so, for the first time ever, I left and did not bring a laptop. And I want to talk about this. Now, first, just to get started, if you look inside of our chat pinned to the top, there is a poll, a link to a poll that I put out today. I want you to go there real quick and go ahead and submit the poll. Let us know. Have you ever traveled anywhere without your laptop? Have you taken a holiday without your laptop? Or do you feel like it's an extra limb and that if you don't bring it, your whole web design business is going to implode? Client sites are going to self-destruct. Everything is going to get hacked, and you're not going to be able to be there to fix whatever problems happen. You're not alone. All right. I only say all that because I know it from experience. So we're going to talk about it. Stuart, what is up, my man? Mario, what is going on? So good to see you guys. I see Reno left something, but that was last week. Paul, Paul, what's cracking? All right, I got my mushroom wellness tea. Got to stay healthy. Speaking of health, I'm very grateful for everybody inside of the pro community that has been doing the 75 hard with me. So I started the 75 hard. I'm on day 10 right now, and we got cool little crew who is doing that challenge with me. And I just want to say a special thank you to those that are doing this because you guys got me to day 10. Now, feeling better, feeling healthy. Last week was a different story doing that first week. But you're going to see in my live streams coming up, there's going to be a hyper focus on health because that's just where I'm focused at right now. In fact, when I share what happened when I left and disconnected from my laptop, disconnected from that need to have to always be available and have to be ready to put out fires and have to work on clients' projects or on any project, what actually happened during that time is going to make a whole lot of sense. Now, what I do want to cover, so first off, if you go to that poll, over 75% of freelancers and agency owners put in that they never have left without their laptop. They cannot go on a holiday without the laptop. And less than 25% said yes, that they can. And, I used to wear like a badge of honor when I put in 7-day weeks, 10, 12 hours a day. The grinding times, to me, I'm proud of it because I grinded really hard to get where I'm at. But it also isn't all good all the time. There has to come a time where we work towards something to improve our lives. Like, that's what the grinding should do. We should grind for a period of time to do certain things, to build certain skills, to build certain parts of our business. But that needs to be able to reflect in a better life, in a life where we could actually disconnect for a week or two from our work and not feel like we have to be, working or on call and standby at all times. And I want to talk about that. I also want to cover a few of the causes and a few of the things that we could be doing in order to prepare ourselves to go ahead and make that happen for us, to be able to make that disconnect happen, be able to go out and be present, enjoy where you're at, enjoy your family, just be able to sit there and just soak it in and take it in and not feel like we need to open up the laptop to fill that time, fill that gap, or fill that hole. Dave, what is going on, Dave? Dave says he takes his laptop and tablet too. I know, man. I know. Same here. Like it got so bad where I was actually considering right before my trip to buy a MacBook Air. That was my compromise, because I battled with this decision. I struggled with it for months before my trip. Now, this is a planned trip, something I planned for a while. And I really battled with it because this was like an epic trip. Like this was a fulfilling a dream trip. And I still struggle with, should I take it? And I'm thinking about all those things like, what about the airport layovers? I crank workout in airport layovers in the layovers. I have completed full designs, just really super dope designs. There's just something that happens when I put in some really strong caffeine and I have a lack of sleep and I'm in that bright lit airport for several hours on a long layover where I could just get some really awesome work done. Like I could just crush it. So I'm thinking about that, and I'm thinking about downtime. I'm thinking about my current projects. I'm thinking about the Figma course. I'm thinking about a lot of things. I'm even thinking about still doing lives and recording YouTube videos while I'm out. But at the same time, I'm starting to think ahead. And I don't know if any of you have done this while you travel with your laptop, but does that cause some worry? Do you feel like, what happens if it rains? How am I going to secure this? How, is the safe inside of the room, is it going to be big enough to secure my laptop? Is this going to be too heavy? Is this going to take up too much space where I got to, bring less underwear, because I got to make extra room for my gear, and it just kind of causes that stress, that anxiety. And I started feeling that before going on my trip. And then finally at the very end, I'll wrap this up and then we'll go into like the solution on everything. But right up until the end, like a week before I left, I remembered where the dream started. You see, my trip was, I went to Paris and I went through Italy. And I was going to fulfill my dream of seeing the Louvre, seeing the Notre Dame, seeing all the medieval castles and the museums of art, the Van Gogh, the Monet, all the Da Vinci, all the Michelangelos, the Last Supper. All these things have been a dream of mine for years. And then I remember where that dream came from. And that is when I was homeless, when I was on Skid Row. When I was out there on the weekend, sometimes in one of like the drop-in shelters, they would play a movie. And I remember this so vividly that I could smell it. You see, I'll never forget that smell. That's something that I just can never forget. I still feel it right now, just remembering the smell of homelessness and the food line and being over there. And then when I was there, we watched a movie, we saw the Da Vinci Code. And that like imprinted on me, like I started living in a fantasy because when I was out there, it was 9.5 years. And to escape from reality, I had to like trick my mind into fantasies because the reality, I couldn't handle that. I don't know how anybody could handle that. And that imprinted with me, and I thought about it constantly, and I fantasized about it. I remember that memory came back to me, and that's when I knew that was my decision. I can't bring my laptop with me. I got to go and fulfill this. Like what I've gone through then, but then also what I had to go through to get to where I'm at right now, coming from that. And it just became clear. And the funniest thing happened like the day before leaving, went out with some friends, and I got a good friend over here, and he's not a web designer inside of our business, but he runs his own business. He's a business owner himself as well. But I told him, I'm like, dude, you're going to be really surprised, but I made a really big decision. I told him, like, I decided not to bring my laptop with me. His eyes opened up in like just like disbelief. He was like, are you kidding me? Like, you're actually thinking about it? He was just in such disbelief that that was even a thought. And it got me thinking, like, is this really saying what we are doing as web designers and developers and freelancers and, running web businesses to take our laptops when we are traveling, like doing things, going out with our families and doing stuff? Is this sane, And I still could picture his eyes. But I want to talk about this because when I was out there, my compromise was to bring a notebook and a bunch of pens and a book on business as well, and to spend my downtime reading about business, furthering my business development and my business education, and starting to do some planning, some business strategies, some marketing, some projections. And I was really hoping that this time away from the computer would get me to see more clearly what I wanted to do inside of my business. But that did not happen at all. In fact, something different completely happened that I wasn't expecting. And that was, I did not think about business at all. I didn't think it didn't matter because I was seeing things that were bigger than business. I was seeing life. I was seeing what really matters. And then I'm starting to pay attention around me, and I'm looking at families, and I'm looking and observing other people also experiencing something that is so much bigger than business. And it got me really thinking, like, what do I really want in life? Like, I thought I knew what I wanted in business. I thought I knew what I wanted in life, but my whole focus has always been work, has always been learning, developing, and trying to get better and trying to move to the next level. And I had to start thinking, like, what do I really want in life? And it started to come to me, things about family, things about building a home, things about health. And then I started really hyper focusing on my health and seeing how important that is and how that is the most important thing, because that is the only thing that is going to get me what really matters, what I really want to do in life. And not only that, but health is also is what's going to help me also get my business. Like, I don't know how Warren Buffett eats McDonald's every day and does what he does. He's a freak of nature, but that's not me, because I was out there for 2.5 weeks. I ate nothing but pastries and pastas and just like carbs. And I came back and seriously, I went through a detox for a whole week. Like, it was rough. My body just doesn't process stuff like that well. So I thought about it and I reflected on it. And one of my goals here on the Lytbox Academy, it's I guess you could say it's one of my biggest goals. It's beyond just teaching web design and teaching Elementor and teaching WordPress and teaching Figma. It's beyond even teaching web design business to freelancers and agency owners. But it's also looking at how us web creators, those of us running web design businesses, can build a better life. That's what's most important. So that's where I'm at right now. And now I do want to talk about what do we need to do to get to that next stage. But before we do, I want to open it up for questions. Now, I know it's a small group tonight. I wasn't expecting it to be big because I've been off of YouTube for a little while, and the algorithms do that. You got to build consistency to really build it up. And I am coming back now with the weekly live streams. I'm glad I took that break because now the energy is just the energy and focus and excitement. It's just there. It's hitting me a whole lot harder now. Okay, let me go through, see if there's any questions. Stuart. Hey, dude, I know. Same here. I also thought about the iPad as well. And in all fairness, I did take my iPad. I'm not going to lie, but my iPad is purely for entertainment. I didn't even do any writing on it. I journal on my iPad, and it was more just for entertainment, especially on the plane. No work was done on it. But yeah, those iPad OS updates. Has anybody seen that, by the way? Apple's latest event showing all the OS 26, their new design language. It's going to be really interesting. I'll probably look at that inside of another video because I think I could see that coming to web design a lot more. We're going to be seeing a lot more glassmorphism coming up for sure. But yeah, the iPad OS updates, it is making it more feasible to actually do work on it. What's going on, Matt? What's up, man? What is going on? Man, can't believe how hot. I got the aircon cranking and it's still hot up in here. You know what? All right, I'm going to look weird right now, guys. All right. But I forgot to do this. I should have done this already. It's nighttime over here, and I need to work on improving my sleep. So one of the things I have to do after 7 p.m. is I got to put on these blue light blocking glasses, and I got to do other routines as well so I could sleep better. Like right after this live stream, I got to turn off everything, no screens for the rest of the night. Then I got to go and do some reading out of a book and do some meditation in order to quiet my mind down so that way I could get a good night's sleep. All right, so I guess this is going to be for everybody watching the replay. I'm going to cover this. I'm not going to stay here too long, not unless if anybody has any questions, but it's a small group tonight. But I want to talk about disconnecting and what you got to do, because if you think about it, you know why first you got to diagnose, why do you feel like you got to take your laptop with you when you go on a holiday, especially for those of you that are going with your families and kids and stuff like that, or you're traveling to places like Thailand, like Europe, like doing these big vacations that take a lot of investment, a lot of time, a lot of planning. Why do you feel like you still need to bring that laptop with you? And I thought about that before this live stream as I was taking my evening walk, and I thought there's a couple causes, and it could be a combination of all of them. One of them is just an obsession. Just this obsession, like if you're like me, you might love what you're doing so damn much that you just can't stop thinking about doing it. Like you just can't fathom taking off 2 weeks of not doing what you love, of not working on, forget a client project, but what about a personal project? Like maybe working on your own website, like fixing your own logo, doing certain things. Like you might really want to do some stuff. Maybe there's some personal projects that have fallen behind that you weren't able to get to because you're just too busy with client work. So taking 2 weeks off, it kind of feels like, hey, I'm wasting this time that I could be doing this. Like I know there's going to be downtime. I know like I'll wake up early in the morning and get some coffee. I might have jet lag and it's a perfect opportunity. So it could be the obsession, but the other thing could be the fear as well. It could be the fear that something bad will happen and you won't be able to solve it. And then you got to look at where that fear comes from. And I can guarantee most of the time that fear is going to come from not believing or trusting in your processes. And if you were to put in the right processes and systems that you could trust and that you feel like you could rely on, they could keep things afloat for just 2 weeks, then you're in a good place. But if you feel like you can't, it's something that really, I feel all of us should reevaluate. Now, if you're in your first couple of years, totally understandable. First couple of years is all about learning. It's all about developing skills. You got to grind. You got to do those 6, 7 day weeks if you really want to get good and really succeed. I don't believe in shortcuts. I don't believe in starting off doing 4 hours a day, 3 days a week, and you build a business that way. Like, it might work for, 0.0001% of entrepreneurs out there who are just, naturally talented or something else. But for most, just about all of us, we need a grind. So if you're in your first couple of years, don't worry, but you could also look at this as well if you're early on, like, well, what do you need to do to make sure when you get to year 3 or 4 that you're still not tethered to this, where you still can disconnect and enjoy life? And if you have been doing this for 5, 6, 7, 10, 20 years and you still can't, don't worry. It took me 9 years. Okay. So there's no race to this, but there has to be a point where a light goes off and we got to start to really look at why can't we do this? Now, first thing is you got to build the systems and processes. You got to have something you could trust. The first step is going to be planning. So my advice and what I'm going to be doing going forward, in fact, I'm already planning 2 more trips this year where I am going to disconnect, is choosing those travels in advance. Now, if you are running a business and all of a sudden, like, you just get this like feeling like, you know what, next week I want to go to Costa Rica. I just want to go there for like a week. I just want to go and get out of the city and I just want to get some sun. I got some money saved up. I found a good deal. Okay, maybe that's not the best time to leave your laptop at home. Unless if your systems and processes are in place, you got people to help you out, fine. But if you can plan it out, especially if you're doing just one holiday a week, and it's in advance, so that gives you ample time to prepare before you go. Then the next one is going to be the preparation and scheduling. You got to be able to schedule whatever you're doing around that. So you have it locked in the calendar. As you're taking on new projects, as you're working on current projects, whatever you're working on, it has to work around that. You could talk to clients months in advance, especially your long-term clients, letting them know this is going to be the time that I'm going to be off. I'm going to be unreachable. So we need to set up and prepare everything before then. Those two go hand in hand. Now, the next one is support. And I think this is where a lot of people struggle. I spent years learning how to build a WordPress maintenance business. Not just build it and get clients on it, but how to optimize it and automate it as much as I can. Because I found when I was doing it all myself, answering all the client tickets and all their queries, making all the little changes, that sometimes it could be a hindrance instead of something that is, profitable and helping my business grow. So I focus on the automation side. I set up a lot of different systems and we got a lot of tools out there that help us out with this. But there was one thing inside the WordPress maintenance business that automates it better than anything else. And that is bringing on a junior developer or even a virtual assistant. You could get a VA who has basic knowledge of WordPress. A lot of VAs have a lot of different, collective of basic knowledge because they've worked for a lot of people doing different things. You could set them up with a system. You could set them up with all the steps and you give them everything you need. You teach them, you create a couple of videos for them, and now they are running it all on their own. 100% automated. And it is also totally affordable. Now, I think 2 things hold us creatives from doing that, from doing that. One of them is just turning it over. Like, we want to hold on to that control. And that control is what's going to hold us back, because that is going to be one of the most easiest things you could delegate. And if you really think about it, like, you could get a VA for like about a good one for around $10 an hour. Now, I don't believe in underpaying people. So, you pay for whatever the market is and the skill level is. I'm not talking about cheaping people out. Let's say even 20, $25 an hour. But if you're doing the work that you could pay somebody 10, 20, $25 an hour to do, that is how much you're worth doing that work yourself. And you got to really start looking at it like that. So you got to turn over that power. But then the other thing is to turn over the money. And I know a lot of people don't want to turn over that money, but that's one of the best investments you could possibly make. So get support. Next one, problems. What if they happen? Well, make sure your problems could be solved with a phone. And this is like last case scenario. You bring this on. First off, if you are managing sites for clients, you can go ahead and up your backups to like 4 backups a day, and make it so easy. Like if something happens, you can make sure, all your auto updates are turned off. But most of the time, as long as there are no updates, you have everything set up right, like there's not too much that could go wrong. Unless if you do got a client that, they do have a very active business, they need your help. Well, that's a different case. That client is going to need support. At that time, again, we're going to go back to the last item on the list. The last thing we talked about, getting support. But then the last one, this is I found the key, and this is what I had to do. And this is what I wasn't able to do up until now for 9 years. All those other things I listed, I've been able to do years and years ago, but still, I had to take my laptop with me for all these different reasons. And the reason why is I couldn't let it go. And that's the last item I have. I got a little bullet list right here. I did some preparation, but it's to let go. Just let go. Just do it. Walk away. Get on the plane. Leave it. And then just know that, okay, the world's not going to implode. Your web design business isn't going to end. Worst case scenario, something could be solved and it's going to be okay. Whatever happens, it's going to be okay. It's not like we haven't been through crash sites before, hack sites before, all the worst things that could possibly happen. Like we went through them. Things turned out to be okay most of the time, almost all the time. But we got to be able to let go sometimes. And this time when I did this and I did finally let go, I didn't prepare enough, but I didn't know that until I was gone. After I was gone and I came back, I started thinking, how can I have done this better? How can I have set up, my assistant better? How can I set her up with better systems so that way she could be more effective? How can I have connected with, one of our pro members that helped to take over the pro calls? By the way, big thanks, Ginger. You crushed it. I'm super grateful for that. But, I could have taken more time to be with Ginger, to walk with her and to have done some pro calls with her. And I started thinking of these things that I could have done in advance. I could have created more content and I could have scheduled more content to roll out while I was gone. So, those things came up, and it's not until you actually go and do it that I realize, then you start to realize what you could do better and improve. It's just like everything else. But you have to let go and just do it. So this year I've already planned a 1 week complete cutoff. I'm going up to Pi in September. I'm going to go and just chill in a resort in the jungle and just decompress. And then I'm going to go visit my family in the States for the holidays for 2 weeks. And I'm not going to bring my laptop with me. I'm going to try this because I got really good results out of it. And, a lot of things in my life became more clear just by taking that time off. And when I came back and started getting back into the business, getting back into this right here, the live stream, things are getting more clear here as well. I got more excitement and I have a bigger vision, it feels like. Let me go ahead and come back and check out the chat, see if anybody else has any questions. I see question marks. Okay. All right, I didn't even read your comments, Stuart, but you always got gems, okay? So I'm going to put it up there. So Stuart says, I think perhaps for a lot of us, the key to understanding how we can leave the computer at home is understanding the ins and outs of how to prepare for that time in advance. Any tips? How to prepare for the ins and outs. Yeah, one thing that you could do is you could document what you're actually doing. What does your day-to-day look like? Do that for a couple of weeks and see what are you actually doing for those couple of weeks. And then when you look at all the stuff that you're doing, you could then see like, okay, can I take 2 weeks of doing this thing? Maybe it's client calls. Maybe it's like an update video call with a client. Maybe it's catching up on emails, something like that. And it's like, yeah, you could take 2 weeks off of that. People expect it, you know? But then you look at the things that, okay, my business needs to run. That's why I'm doing this thing. So this thing I'm doing right here, things need to run. Now, let's go ahead and set up something where either somebody could cover it, or I could automate it, or I could find a way to make that, work with taking a 2-week break, on it. Maybe we could do something in advance so that way we could give some more room where I don't have to do that one thing. So that would be my tip, to document and log what you're doing every single day for a couple of weeks. Come back to it and then kind of create a game plan, scratch things off, look at what is necessary, and when I say necessary, I'm talking about absolutely necessary. I'm talking about the business would take a big hit necessary if you're not doing that. Probably marketing, probably, collecting or sales calls, but that would be my tip. Mario says he's taking his laptop on his upcoming road trip, not because I want to work during the holiday, because I want to be able. You know what? That was my thing too, Mario. For real, I thought about what am I going to do when I'm inside of the airport. I really did. And I thought, like, I didn't know. Like, this is what I do all the time. Yeah, I feel that. I feel that. That's the obsession. I said there are two reasons to the obsession, because we love doing what we're doing, and then also the fear. But then again, some of us also do more on the laptop. So, I guess we can't be too like vague about a laptop, because some of us use laptops to watch Netflix. Some of us use it, but can you disconnect from, from everything while being out there? All right. Jessica says she takes her laptop just see tours and check which ones sound better. That is a really good point, Jessica. I'm glad you brought that up. Not because of the whole laptop thing, but it's actually, this is a whole other topic. The whole mobile first topic. All right. Like, just recently I saw somebody leave a really negative comment on somebody else's design that was designed on desktop, and they slammed it because they said, what is the point of even doing desktop? 99% of views on the internet are all mobile. Now, first I was just like, all right, that statistic is absolutely wrong. But more views are on mobile, more people are using mobile, but it is easier to make bigger decisions using a laptop. And that is why or desktop, I should say, using a desktop browser. So that's why desktop is so important, because that's where a lot of the big decisions have. And I agree, it is hard to make those kind of decisions on a phone, and hard to see them. That's why I do my iPad, but the iPad, I guess, could also be sort of a laptop. Okay, so this is okay. Here we go. The fear. Okay, this is it right here. This is another thing that I always brought mine to, and I went for years and years solo. What happens if the site goes down, or if the site gets hacked? So this is really good that you brought this up, Paul. One thing I found is I could run backups from my phone. Like, if something did happen, I could go to my hosting and I could pull a backup straight from my phone. I've had to do it before. Like, I've been in situations where I was out, client site got hacked, and I had to like stop what I was doing, go find a seat real quick and do that. But realistically, a site should not go down if nothing changes on it. Like, if there are no updates happening to it, the client isn't messing around with it, nothing should go wrong with it, because there's no changes, theoretically. So I think that it's safe to go for a couple of weeks and not worry about that. And if your client, you do have clients that are the tinkering type, they like to mess around with their websites. That's just where clear communication is made. That's when you gotta let them know, like, dude, I am gone. Like, I'm putting my I'm getting another country SIM card, so I can't even receive calls. So don't mess with your site while I'm gone, because I'm not going to be here to help out with it. Uh, I know some clients still don't hear it. Tell me if you have one of those. All right. Airport lounge beer. For me, it's coffees, dude. Lots of coffee. I don't know what it is with airports, but they're coffees. They're coffee shops, especially because I'm traveling a lot in Asia. I live in Asia, so my layovers are usually either like in Taiwan or in Korea. But man, their coffee is potent. Like, it is so strong. Oh man, I love it. Matt, okay, yeah, that's it right there. Look at this, all could be solved. I'm really glad you guys are bringing this up, because this is it. This is what happens to us. And look at the end of the day, we're business owners, we're entrepreneurs, we're running our own business. So it's not like we could just up and walk away from it all. It takes time. It takes time and planning, preparation. It takes getting to a point where we could actually do that. But you got to have something to help you out with that. You got to have, like, I do not advise for anybody running their own business, just like, you know what? I got a trip coming up in a couple months. I'm just going to do this and not be ready for it. The whole point is to start to get ready, start to look, and start to, like, really take it in and see, like, what can I do in my business so that way I can take 2 weeks off, even if you're not taking a trip. I think this is a good exercise for anybody running a web design business, because then it gets us to look at our processes and our systems and how we set up things. And maybe we need to start hiring. Maybe we need to bring on an executive assistant or at least a VA, to help us run things. So that's the reason why I wanted to bring this up. That's the reason why I want to talk about this, because I know I'm not alone. I just can't believe it took me 9 years to get here to figure it out. Okay, I think we got any other questions. So, okay, Enak says course pricing, please. Well, depends what course. you know, I need more to that question. Okay, we're going to keep this one short. It's not going to be a long one. I'm just getting back in the hang of it. And coming up inside of the live streams, we're going to be doing other things. I got one coming up where we're going to be doing some live Figma stuff. We're going to be doing some live AI stuff. We're going to be bringing on people. Like, I got special guests coming up in the next one. I just want to confirm the date first and lock it down and post it, but it's going to be awesome. I'll give you a hint. All right, I'll give you a hint. Somebody who has created. Nah, that's too big of a hint. Hey, do you know what? Forget it. I'm gonna say it. All right, it's the person who created my favorite bricks add-on. Okay, I'll just say that. Okay, I'll let you guys guess from there, but that should be an easy one. So we got guests coming up, and more collaborations coming up as well. A couple things I'm going to be doing is also looking outside of WordPress, looking at other things in web design. Our industry is shifting. It's turning, it's moving quickly, and it always has been. It's a technology industry. Tech is always changing quickly, and we always need to know what's going on. I want to explore. I have fun looking at other web design tools, other web design trends. We got things like just today that was launched. What was it called? A liquid glass by Apple inside of their new design system. You could guarantee that this is going to trend now inside of web design and inside of UI design. Because when you get somebody, like Apple, who creates a design system, it does leave a very huge impact on the industry. I want to do some live stuff here where we just start creating some liquid glass stuff, figuring this thing out and finding ways to do this really easy and fast. So I got a lot of fun stuff coming up. Okay, let's see here. Jessica, okay, do I have any updates about the bonus module, the long awaited bonus module for Design with Elementor? Yes, I do. In fact, I got some other updates coming to Design with Elementor. So I was creating a bonus module and I'm still going to put it out there. I'm still going to fulfill it. That's going to be focused on web design business. But I'm going to be doing more than that. I want to do it in one big chunk because I'm going to be doing not an overhaul of the Design with Elementor, but a very big update that's focusing on systems and updates within inside of Elementor and building things at a bit more advanced stage. So we got a lot coming up. Right now, I'm at the very end of the Figma masterclass. As soon as the Figma masterclass finishes, then I'm jumping right into Design with Elementor 2.0, and we're going to do a big update. Those are my two focuses for the rest of this year. I want to make Design with Elementor just crazy dope. I want to make it up to date, and I want to make it I want to make it the best Elementor program out there. That's my goal. And I'm glad that other people are creating great content on it. It pushes me. But look at Elementor's adding a lot of stuff. You know, they got the new editor coming out. I want to get everybody on top of that and just, you know, like I found ways to build better with Elementor recently. And that's going to be coming up inside of the update. So not only are we going to have the bonus module, but we're going to have several modules come. Not several. I would say the bonus module of web design and then the bonus of advanced workflows, you know, like updates to Elementor. That's going to come up. I'm going to post all of it as soon as the Figma mastery completes and the rollout is 100% on there. That way I'm laser focused. I can't just jump between a bunch of things. I found course creation takes just a heightened amount of focus. It takes so much energy and just like you have to be in the zone for months really on it. So I promise I will get that to you. Long answer to a very short question. Look at I take my iPad too. That was like my fail safe, my backup. You know, like I can't work on Figma on my iPad. You know, I can't go in like I could technically go into my brick side and start making updates to it, but do I really want to on the iPad? You know, so I knew that with my iPad, it was going to keep me from doing the stuff that I was obsessed about, the stuff that just stayed in my mind, that was in the back of my mind. But I also knew I had it in case if something happened, because at the end of the day, we got to run our business. We got to make sure our business is running. So yeah, I fully support that, Paul. I'm with you on it. Okay, I like this. I like this. So sometimes it's with it, sometimes it's without it. And dang, and with the camera and stuff too. You know, I was doing that. I was bringing my camera because I was like, oh, I could make some videos as well. All that ended up happening was I worried about my camera, my gear, and my laptop. And then I found like I might make one video and wasn't really worth it. But dude, I'm with you. I feel like one or the other is perfect. Just at least having one. Okay. You know what? We're going to be wrapping this one up early. If anybody has any questions, please let me know. Drop it inside here right now. I'm happy to answer anything related to web design business. We may have another live stream coming out at the end of this week with special guests soon as I can confirm and lock it down. If not, we're going to be back next week. We're going to be doing something in Figma, some live stuff. Going to be showing some practices how to improve your design skills. We're going to do it live. It's probably going to be a 2-part session. I might even do 2 lives inside of the week. There are some tips and guidance that I got when I started my web design journey. And I was very fortunate to have 2 really good mentors come into my path at the right time. In the very beginning, I had a developer come into my path and give me guidance and development. And then once I started getting the development part down, I had still to this day, one of the best designers I've ever known come into my path and give me some really good advice that helped me out on my design journey. And some of these are just very simple, almost in a way, just practices that we could do in order for us to hone our skills and build those skills. And what I want to do is do some of those live here. So that way, anybody wanting to build their design skills, like we're going to have that in here. So that's coming up next as well. With that, I see no more questions, so I'm going to go ahead and end it. Hey, I appreciate everybody for sticking around, for watching this, for being here, for contributing. Even Stuart staying up late. I know how late it is out there in Australia. Get to bed, man. Talk to you later. See you.